Alright, so I promised this, so let's dive into this. This is a bit different from what I was running at NJ Regionals, but it's only like 1 or 2 card changes. So let's go through this. First thing, very important, King Agito. I do not recommend running this card at more than like 2. King Agito is very good in specific scenarios, but typically when you're low on cards and very specifically against a Godpunk matchup, it's quite useful. But in a general sense, it isn't that good, and you're able to get much better results out of just a triple size 1 field, because you can just take advantage of your D shares more, because you have more attacks, more things have the D shares, like there's more spreading of abilities going on, like you're just able to take advantage of more. You're able to take advantage of stuff like Hunt and where is it? Hunt and Undying and Oath much more when you're on a triple size 1 field. You're able to gain a lot more life, get a lot more damage in, just everything tends to work a bit better when you're on those formations. Also, you get free penetrate. That's pretty nice. But you're not getting on King Agito. You need to dedicate a soul slot to that if you want it. So I do not recommend many of this, especially because like the thing is, like you can search it with this, and if you once it's in your drop zone, you can get it back with that as well as get something else like this. So like there's no real reason to really focus on it. So yeah, in some matchups I would side in an extra copy or 2, like specifically Godpunks, as I mentioned. Against Godpunks, there's no real threat of them killing you super fast. But there is a threat, of course, of you running out of cards. So King Agito is very good there because it's way more efficient on card advantage usage, because it's 1 card to get 7 soul. Like your opponent has to go through it a lot, and once you get that in there, the only thing that they can use to get rid of it via effects is going to be their Doggazeus, Brawlzeus call, I mean, and once you get some what's it called? Tsumisaki in its soul, it becomes like 10k, 13k defense, and it becomes really difficult for them to beat over it. So basically, this is the most efficient way of dealing with the Godpunk matchup. So yeah. Though you can deal with that in general because NP exists and stuff like that, but whatever. Of course, Thunder Axe Agito is very, very, very essential. There's a reason we're buddying it. Because it's what gives your things double attack. It also has innate penetrate, which is very, very handy. To the point where, because it has innate penetrate, that's why I'm not running Head of Linkdragon or Agito, the one that gives the share of penetrate. Like, you have to pay a gauge for this, and it's a song to feel. I don't like it very much. There are specific scenarios where it's good for, but you can just side it for that. So I don't like maining it. This was something that I was maining during regionals, and I was like, this comes up so infrequently that I'm like, I don't want to main this. I don't want this. You can just in most matchups, they're only going to have like 1 or 2 soul worth things in the center, and you can just get those with penetrate through those with Thunder Axe Agito's own penetrate. So you don't need extra help with that. Hara, of course, because this is your main defensive engine. Like, as far as your other defenses go, it's really just some basic shields and a destruction spell. So most of your defensive power comes from Hara's immense life gain. Like, Agito plus this, plus a size 1, that's going to be 12 life gain. If you add an item into that, that's going to be a good 18. Yeah, and like it can get really crazy. And then if you have enough life, that's where stuff like Earnest NP comes in. So Earnest NP is really good because its D share is when it attacks, pay 2 life to draw a card. So when you're on enough life that you don't really need more from Hara, you just go, okay, I'm going to have NP on the board, and I'm going to spend it with NP. So like you're not reducing, like if you have the Agito Hara NP formation, you're not going to be spending any life. You'll just be going gain 2 life, pay 2 life, gain 2 life, pay 2 life, gain 2 life, pay 2 life. And when you really need to dig for a specific card, or you just want to build up your hand a lot, that is very, very useful because you can draw like 8 cards in that turn. So yeah, very good. Obviously, very essential for because like you can't search this. So your only really real way to search it is like sturdy sturdy gathering combo, but that's not super reliable, and you want to see this ASAP, so you want a 4 of it. And if you're not in a matchup that threatens destroying your stuff, then you can do stuff like a Akito formation that gains a ridiculous amount of life, and like, yeah, you just want 4. You just really want 4. Jizen, I was only one-upping this at regionals, but you need it, you want it so often that I just went, okay, I need to bump this up in the main. I was siding another copy, but I was like, okay, I don't really care about these techs. Like, this isn't very useful in most matchups, as I went over. And the matchups where bouncing and resting come up so infrequently that this doesn't matter. I did not find the crit gain useful at all. Like, it's taking up a slot in the formation was honestly really bad. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to use those slots to put in another copy of Jizen, because this is something that is useful a lot, and it gives me gauge gain, and it's a 2 crit, which is pretty rare, as you can see here. If you look over here, the only other 2 crit size one we have in the deck is Akito. So having it just being 2 crit is very handy in and of itself. Shredder Takatsume, you don't always have the excess gauge to make use of this, but the ability to just pop off any cards your opponent might have is very useful. Again, Godpunk matchup comes up because you don't want that set spell of theirs remaining on the board. If you have an opportunity to get rid of it, you want it gone. So this lets you do that. It's also very useful against, say, Dragons. If they're not on guard crits, you can use this to clear out their field easily. Like if they're on blast, then you use it to clear out their stuff while going face, or if they're on sonic mode, you can use it to clear them out. Also very useful against current Astro Dragons, and it'll become more useful once with mobile aerial team out, because this is your way of like clearing out their soul. Just getting a lot of destructions off. I might end up going up to 4 Linkdragon Orders links just to fuel that more, because this is one of the things that really helps in that matchup, as well as the other sideboard thing that you really want, the Silent Tatagami, which will clear out soul and remove the crit gain things that they can, of course, put back in with Reprining Link when they have them in hand. But clearing those out when you can is very important. So this will become a very important sideboard, or maybe even main board once that is out. I already went over NP. Tsumasaki is just our Flare Fang. It can only be called when you have a DCR on the field, and on entry you gauge 1, draw 1. And it gives your things +3k defense, which is very useful in like a lot of scenarios. Basically forces your opponent to deal with it. And if it's in King Akito, your opponent can't deal with it, and this is what makes, as I explained earlier, this is what makes this especially good against Godpunk, because with Jizen in the soul, they can't destroy it with anything except for Brawl Zeus. And with a couple of these in the soul, it becomes so beefy that they have trouble beating into it. So yeah, very good. Linkdragon Orders Hunt, extremely powerful advantage card. Be careful with it though, because your opponent has destruction that they can respond to it with. They can turn it from a pay 1 gauge to draw 3 and gain 3 life, to pay gauge to draw a card and gain a life, which is not very efficient. And also be very careful about how your gauge status is when you cast it, especially against Godpunks. Very, very important to be careful there. And going into the future format, because spell nulls are going to be a rampant thing in Electro Deities, so being very careful about how you time this is also very important. Gathering, another very important advantage tool. I've talked about it briefly a bit already, but this lets you search out any of your Argitos, and it has a secondary effect to get back any 2 Linkdragon Orders from your drop zone. So this lets you keep up the size 1 formation very easily. And if you use Story Dragon Strike before, you set up any monsters you need in your drop zone, and then just get them back with Gathering. Shield lineup, 4 Bonds, 4 Undying. They're both solid shields, and as I said, since our defenses are very reliant on Hara, I don't feel comfortable skimping out on any shields. Bond Shield is definitely the better one because it's a cantrip. We get a card back after using it, and like it's basically a mini gathering while being a shield. So and doesn't cost any gauge. So very good. Undying Linkdragon Order gives us more life gain. We don't really need it, to be honest. I would kind of trade this out for better defensive options, but it's what we got right now, and it's very useful when we go first against like Astro Dragons or Garga, because like that says, okay, if we have like a monster and an item on the board, okay, we can gain 2 life, nullify that attack. That is the hardest thing for us. Surviving first against those matchups is like one of the hardest scenarios to get through. But if we can get through that, we're pretty fine. Linkdragon Orders Links, very good, very versatile card. You mill 2 to cast it, and you either gauge 3, gain 1 life, which is very useful against like in like every matchup because it lets you surprise, go into Oath or your impact, or it lets you like pull out things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise, like more activations of this, or it lets you turn off the low gauge requirement things for Godpunks and just give you gauge to utilize to get your plays going. Like it's emergency gauge Excel. And then its other effect is you destroy a monster at counter speed, which does not come up terribly often, but is a great option to have on the card. Linkdragon Orders Oath. So this is pay 2 gauge to choose one of the following 2. You either during the main phase you cast it and give all of your things power plus 10k and critical plus 1 for the turn, which is really good for a big finish, or to break through something that's really big defense, like say in the mirror if there's a big King Agito that you need to deal with, or if you're facing down a Sonic mode that you really need to deal with. That really helps there. That saves your ass really hard. And then its other effect is counter standoff of your D-Share if you just want going for a finish. Divine Dragon Creation, Dragon Emperor Legend, basic advantage cards. They're once per turn, so we don't want to clog with them, and they're not as high power as Hunt is, so we don't really feel the need to run that many of them, but they're still very useful, so you still want them around, especially since they don't have any field conditions to do what they do. Sturdy Dragon Strike, as already mentioned, this sets up our drop zone with any size ones that we need for putting in Soul with King Agito, grabbing with Bond Shield, grabbing with Gathering, basic stuff. Our item, honestly this could be better, but the power gain is very appreciated. The nullification does not come up very much, but it's a nice thing to have there. But yeah, this is just item with D-Share, and it's the best one that we have access to right now. You could take one out to tech in the axe that has the D-Share of when it attacks, pay 1 gauge to deal 1 damage to your opponent. That is very viable, and I've seen this do it before. So feel free to do that if you feel the need, but not necessary. And lastly, Impact. It's just nice to have 2 of this around because like just emergency pay 2 gauge, deal 4 to finish the game is very nice to have around. Especially when you can like just when your opponent thinks you don't have the gauge to do it, just go into it with a Linkdragon's Order Links and get the thing done. Penetrate helps you make that happen. Yeah, basic stuff. Yeah, that's it for this deck profile. I should have a match video of this going up sometime this weekend, and more match videos in the future. So with that said, this is Hunter Church signing off.